Since his inception as State Minister for Sports, Peter Ogwang has repeatedly sought explanation as to why only the Ssebei region and not any other highland region is producing elite long-distance athletes for the country. In trying to seek answers to the minister's concern, we visited Kasese District in the Rwenzori Highland region. In Kasese, we met Reverend Gabriel Fataki, who is a board member of many schools in the district. Reverend Fataki confirms that despite the low athletics talent development, the region is capable of producing world-class athletes.
Considering the altitude and comparing to our colleagues in the Ssebei region, I think we match and probably we are better. So taking advantage of the terrain, we should actually be competing.
The clergyman, however, blames the low athletics passion in the region on lack of motivation.
I think passion sometimes is inbuilt, and I've seen it. Of course, our people still require some bit of push. You see, the Kapchorwa people now, for them it is business, for them it is their livelihood, for them it is everything to them. Now for us here, until 1 or 2 persons qualify as an elite, the rest will never wake up.
However, athletics manager and coach at Rosa Camp in Kapchorwa, Peter Chelangat, has a varying opinion about the low athletics interest among the population in the other highland regions of the country.
The challenge with them could be maybe they are highly placed and they are doing better in their communities. So sometimes they might ask themselves, why waste my time in running? Or why get involved in all these kinds of running? But to me, I would say Kavali and Kasese would produce also the best athletes because they have a very good altitude. And then that would also give them an advantage to run and then win medals in this country.
Chelangat also explains that Uganda's athletes from the Ssebei region were also inspired by their Kenyan counterparts who are making a living out of athletics.
But when they realize that their counterparts, their brothers from Kenya, are doing it well, and yet we have the same DNA, we have the same blood, the same gene, and then for us we were busy sleeping. So they also woke up from the sleep. And then they say, no, we also must do like our brothers from the other side, from Kenya.
Unlike their counterparts of the Ssebei region, who had the benefit of crossing to neighboring Kenya in the Eldoret region to encroach on their training facilities, athletes from the Rwenzori region and other highland areas of the country have no facilities for training. This impedes their passion for sports and especially athletics. Meanwhile, Kasese District has embarked on the process of constructing a high-altitude training center that will serve the entire western and southwestern Uganda region in nurturing track athletes.
So we are still negotiating about a place called Neo. There is a place called Neo. It's a government facility somewhere in Maliba on the top of the hill. And then we are still doing an assessment so that we can engage the district further. The Minister Kabyanga, Minister of State for ICT, is also in the process of identifying land far higher, at a far higher altitude, because the scientists, the sports scientists, have given us the kind of altitude that we need. And of course the interest is that we beat the altitude of Kapchorwa.
We trekked to one of the proposed sites to see the viability of the project. Coaching is another area that has been identified as the major problem facing athletics talent development in the Rwenzori region. Whereas there are many coaches in the Ssebei region to deal with the 3 stages of an athlete's development, in the Rwenzori region, there are only 3 who have to handle all ages and genders. One of them is John Bagenda. The other 2 are Charles Walter and Johnson Masereka. Self-styled coach John Bagenda says most of these athletes start late, mostly because they join institutions that have an athletics program and pick the interest when nurturing and polishing is very late.
By the time the Dubi had started, nobody is seeing the talent. So when they reach at tertiary institutions, they find themselves being in competitions because the institution is evolved. So that's why they look to some of us who have a clue and an idea. Even myself, I cannot tell you that I'm a coach by profession, but I read a variety of books.
Bagenda doesn't spare Kasese District administration, especially the sports department, when it comes to the failure of sports in the region.
Every district, what I know, percentage of sports is being sent at the district level. And more especially emphasizing of those primary schools. And I think sports where there is money, it cannot fail. Now my question is, if the government can fund such activities at primary level, why are we failing to have it? So we need what we call supervision of the expenditure of the funds that are sent by the government.
Despite the challenges, a few athletes like Milton Tibesigwa are trying to hustle through the tide. Unlike his Ssebei region counterparts, Tibesigwa has to balance training and working as a security guard to sustain life.
Mostly when I'm doing night duty, I wake up very early in the morning, that is 5 a.m. the morning, up to 7. That one's enough for me to train. And when I'm working daytime, I want to go at my training when it is 6 p.m. to something around 7:30.
Tibesigwa has been running since 2001, but says he'd be far better off if he'd had proper training and facilitation.
I realized I have this talent, but I didn't have someone to bring me up, to support me. Otherwise, I would be step ahead.
Jerome Kahiana is the sports officer of Kasese District. He believes the long-standing political instability in the region has also hampered talent development.
Right away from the history that we have been having in the Kasese, through the Rwenzori movement that started in 1950, whereby the Bamba and the Konjo opted to have a district in the Kasese. And since that time, there have been rebellion in the mountains of the Rwenzori.
Kahiana says a clear roadmap is needed in the development of athletes. He says most cases after the basic development, most athletes veer off into other activities, abandoning the sport.
There is no clear way of getting somebody from a community here, since there is no budget as a district that we can get, maybe, let's say, 50 athletes and we have a camp.
Local governments receive a stipend of 30 million every year for recreational activities. Kahiana says the district is trying to use the money to do what they can, but they are stretched.
It is really true. Before we go to that 30 million from central government, we are really scratching. But as per now, at least we are competing at national level through using that money that the central government sends to the district through sports.
He confirms that the local government is working with well-wishers to ensure that a high-altitude training facility is built to enable athletes train and develop their talents.
The local government and the Kasese Tourism Forum, we are in touch with the Hima Cement Factory. And now the task is to Kasese to look for a high-altitude center. For them, they are interested in only getting land. But they are soliciting for funds so that they can come and now build in the one which is similar to Kapchorwa.
Felix Manyindo, NTV Sport.